The main outcomes that we're looking for at the end of this week is we want to provide a bit more background on essentially how did the BBA evolve, where did it come from, what are some of the whys of the BBA, understand what decisions have already been made for us. Those decisions are for better or for worse, but at least those decisions are there, and it lets us know what sandbox we're playing in, what parameters we're playing under. And hopefully by the end, once we get that grounding and that understanding, it will allow us to be able to explore a couple of questions a bit more effectively. And these questions are really personal questions. The first one is, given where the BBAs are coming from, what the reason modus operandi for them is, and given the parameters that we're playing under, how does it align with my personal goals, my experiences, and my style? So get a bit of an understanding on how it resonates with you. So that's the one question. And the other question that we're going to encourage people to begin exploring, and we'll continue exploring forever in essence, and asking ourselves the question, how might I change what I do so that I can support the BBA most effectively? So keeping within who you are, the way you teach, what works best for you, what works most effectively for you, what parameters we're playing in, what are some of the things that you might be able to do and might be able to change or might be able to leverage and repeat in order to optimally support the BBA. I'd just like to give a bit of a timeline on the development of the BBAs to give us a little bit of context. Up until late 2010, the idea of a cluster of BBA degrees was nothing more than a glint in the eye of our then Dean, Bill Holmes. Bill had a meeting with a group of faculty in late 2010 where he presented the concept of the BBAs. And in January of 2011, a group of approximately 20 faculty and management were formed to basically figure out what is it, this thing that the BBAs is going to be. What is it? Why Sheridan? And what should our BBAs do? So that's essentially the month of January was a large group of approximately 20 people really figuring out what are the guiding principles, what do we want these BBAs to be. And we'll be going into a bit more detail in the next few slides, basically identifying what the guiding principles were. Then from essentially January through the end of April, that's when, if we look at the Pareto principle, 80% of the work was really done in that time. That's where we got identified a lot of what the curriculum should be, a lot of the format is. We had two very good ad hoc PAC meetings with representatives from industry. Approximately 30 industry representatives were involved in providing us feedback on guidance on what these degrees should be from the industry perspective. By the end of April, we had phase 1 approval from the Sheridan Dean's Council. They liked what they were seeing in the progress. They gave us approval to move ahead. In the summer of 2011, with these being degrees, we wanted more than just industry input. We wanted some academic input. So for each of the degrees, for each of the 5 different streams, we sent out a skeleton of the proposal to some external academics for their review. And essentially over the summer, these external academics reviewed our proposal and our thoughts and gave us some very good positive constructive feedback, which we dealt with in the fall, finalizing finalizing the proposals that we're going to do. So, but essentially by the end of the fall of 2011, we had an internal, things were pretty much nailed down internally. There were a few I dotting and T crossings, which unfortunately took the better part of 2012. By October 2012, we were finally able to submit our proposals to PCAB, which is the government of Ontario, and they're responsible for basically saying whether or not we are allowed to offer these degrees. We were in that bureaucratic process starting in October 2012. In 2013, we had the site visit from PCAB. As a result of that visit, they gave us some feedback. We in turn had to respond to that feedback, and then the approval process was essentially waiting for the minister's final approval, which came on November 5th. And that was the date when we were finally allowed to announce to the world that yes, Sheridan is going to be offering these 5 new BBA degrees. So November 5th, 2013 was when we let the world know what we were doing, and we had our first intake of students in this past September, as we all know. As I mentioned in the previous slide, we spent the first month of the BBA development spending an awful lot of effort trying to figure out what it is the BBA is, why is Sheridan offering it, and what do we want the outcome to be, what do we want the graduate of the BBA to be and to look like. And so we came up with this set of guiding principles, which you'll see on the next 3 slides. In essence, our vision was and is to be an innovative business educator developing individuals who are ready to make a difference. And that we use that as the acid test with every major decision we went along the way, that we encountered along the way, and we'd look back and we'd say, does that support that vision? And our mission is essentially to provide experiential learning activities for the students, having them develop higher level skills beyond just content knowledge. So that we always would check any major decision, as I said, to make sure that they resonated with that vision and with that mission. Leave it to you to read the rest of the details here. As you read through the BBA values on this slide, you'll see that they are quite consistent and resonate with the vision and the mission from the previous slide. The one thing I'd like to draw your attention to is that the third point here, and that we mentor the whole person in order to bring out the best in our students. This is one thing that we really feel the BBA is a main differentiator for our BBA, and it also ends up significantly impacting the design of the BBA, as we'll talk about later. So the culmination of our work on the development of the guiding principles ended up with this BBA critical performance statement. And as you read through it, you'll see that, again, that the student and the graduate that we have of the BBA is much more than someone who knows the content of their discipline very well. They definitely do have that discipline knowledge, but they also have a lot of broader skills, more generic skills that are going to see them well in business. So what is the outcome of the development of this BBA? Based on the mission, vision, and our other guiding principles, our values and whatnot, we basically have developed a BBA that we feel is, one, it's student-centered, as opposed to having a typical college program map where the students go lockstep through prescribed set of courses. We give them much more flexible programming, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. We've also introduced this thing called a creative learning portfolio, and we'll talk more about that a bit later also, but that's focus is on the developing of the whole student concept and objective of ours. In terms of the knowledge, in our program map, in the flexible programming, we do have a progression of applied research all the way through. And this is in alignment with Sheridan's academic innovation strategy to give students the experience working with real live projects. And so we have a progression of 3 courses that take them through applied research, giving them that real in-depth experience in research. All students will undergo a capstone experience, which is different than an awful lot of other BBAs that are out there. So the students will either have a industry project, which most students we expect will pursue, but for those students that may want to go on to an academic career or further academic studies, we also provide a thesis option for them in their final year. We do have, although the programming is flexible, there is a set of core courses, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a bit later. And those core courses are, there's actually a progression of those courses. They aren't all just loaded in first and second year, but there are some core courses in the upper years too. So we have a progression taking students all the way through from introductory courses right through the culminating project or thesis. So that's a Common Core. We also have interdisciplinary options similar to what you might think of as a minor in a university environment. And we won't talk too much about those, but they do exist in three different areas. So in order to graduate, all students are required to get 120 credits, earn 120 credits. Some students coming in on a transfer will get some transfer credits, but let's just speak about the generic student. So the student that's with us for the entire duration of their program. So the graduation requirement is 40 courses or 120 credits. Of those, there's 24 courses or 72 credits that are mandatory. So 20 of those 24 courses, students in all disciplines will take those same 20 courses. So, marketing fundamentals, business fundamentals, courses such as that. So that's 20 courses. There's 4 courses that are discipline specific. So all marketing students, there's 4 marketing courses that every marketing student must take. Supply chain management students don't have to take those courses. But in every discipline, there are 4 courses that the students must take. Beyond that, within their discipline, the student has the option and is required to take at least 2 more courses in that discipline. And for each discipline, we have 4 additional courses, so the students are going to have the option to take 2 of those 4 courses. So that brings us up to, so there's the 24 required courses, then within their discipline specific, there's an additional 2 courses. So they have 26 courses that are either common or specifically related to their discipline. Beyond that, the students have a fair bit of flexibility. They need to take 6 business electives, so 6 courses that are business courses. They can be from within their discipline if they want, so they can continue to beef up their knowledge in their specific discipline, or if they want, they can take courses in another discipline as long as they have the prerequisites. So it's quite possible a supply chain management student may go and take an additional say marketing course as long as they have the prerequisites. So the students are required to take 6 courses that they have basically total freedom on from business, and there's a total of 8 courses in terms of the breadth electives that the students must take. So that's essentially 1 course per term. The logic behind our course numbering approach is essentially that 1,000 level courses are our introductory level courses, and they do not have any prerequisites. The 2,000 level or intermediate level courses generally have some prerequisites, normally at the 1,000 course level, as well as previous learning at the 1,000 level. Your more advanced courses, the 3,000 and 4,000 level courses, to gain entry into those courses, generally there's prerequisites based on previous courses, as well as a prerequisite based on the basically total credits earned to date. So we're going to make sure that in those 3,000 and 4,000 level courses, the advanced level courses, that not only the student comes in with the specific content knowledge, which is essentially the course level, but also that they have enough breadth of knowledge and learning experience in terms of having taken a specific number of credits or threshold of credits, and that's going to help keep the advanced level of those courses advanced. Also, there's a graduation requirement that a certain number of courses must be at the 3,000 and 4,000 level in the program. So a student can't take all sorts of electives at the 2,000 level and graduate. There is a requirement of a certain portion of their program is completed at the 3,000 and 4,000 course level. You'll recall that central to the goals of the BBA, we're interested in developing the whole person, the whole student. We're not just looking at developing them academically. So in order to do that, we had to figure out some formalized, structured mechanism to assist the student in that growth throughout their career as a BBA student at Sheridan. So we figured out that it really wasn't fair or feasible or plausible to do that sort of personal growth within the classroom. We have enough challenges and difficulty covering the courses. So we devised this mechanism called the Creative Learning Portfolio. The original intention of the CLP, or the Creative Learning Portfolio, was to have it be a non-credit yet required course in each semester of the program. And through the portfolio, the student would, in the early stages, learn more about themselves, and as time went on, they'd figure out, how they relate with others, and then eventually how do they relate to the larger world. The reality of how the Creative Learning Portfolio is being implemented is we didn't have the resources, or we don't have the resources to have that course run or have the students take that every semester. So we've essentially bookended the formal learning portfolio. We have a course in first year, and the focus of that course is basically the students learn about themselves, self-awareness, what their learning preferences are, what their strengths are. So they really they're encouraged to reflect and learn an awful lot about themselves and set goals. We also have in fourth year, so essentially in the exit of the program, there's another CLP course where the focus is going to be more on how the individual fits in the employment and in the broader world. So the focus there is going to be more on getting the student ready to kickstart that career. The challenge we're going to have is along the way between that first course and the last course, intentionally providing opportunities for the students to grow and to work on their personal growth, and do that in an intentional and structured way. So we're going to be one of our challenges is how do we do that? Can we integrate aspects from our particular courses into this learning portfolio? In some cases it makes sense, in other cases it won't. But that's one of the things we're going to be exploring as we move along this path. There's a lot of information in the virtual community. If you look in the Creative Learning Portfolio / e-portfolio module, you will see an awful lot. I encourage you to go there. There's a brief video at the beginning which gives a description of the CLP1 course, and also gives some examples of e-portfolios that the students are starting to develop. And essentially the e-portfolio is a way to capture a lot of this personal growth and transformation that the student's going through in time. Two other aspects of the BBA program that are going to be challenging for us because for most of us it's new and different to what we're used to,